Well, hi you guys. It's been 1 year since I've been able to make this video, and what I'm going to tell you, I don't expect anybody to believe me. That's not what this video is about. I understand if nobody believes what I'm about to say. But this year we had a beautiful summer. Very hot, very dry, gorgeous sunny weather, day after day, week after week. Couldn't ask for a better summer. And if you guys have noticed probably by now, watching my channel, I haven't done any camping this year. When Bridget was here to visit with me from out of state, my girlfriend, for a week, we did one night of camping, but we went to a campground where there was other people around. There was quite a few of other people around. Typically, so her and I could be by ourselves and have our own private time, I would have gone to one of many of the remote camping areas that I would frequent over the years. This year I haven't done it once, not one time. And the reason why I haven't is because I had something so unbelievable happen that I don't care to talk about, because there's no way in hell anybody would believe it. So I'm not even gonna talk about it. But I had something so unbelievable happen that scared me to my core that I've never gone back. And I won't go back. I just won't. I'm done with that type of camping for good. I now will only camp where there is lots of other people, and it has also affected my hiking to where I'm very selective now on where I hike or how far I hike. And that's why my last hike took place in a state park where there's other people around. I am not a person that is afraid of the woods. I am not a person that is afraid of the dark. Back in the 80s, I used to walk into the woods without even a flashlight in the black of night when I was homeless. And I had to do that because I didn't own a flashlight. And I would do that to make my way back to my tent that was deep back in the woods, and thought nothing of it. Yes, it was spooky, but I did it. I actually did that. So I've been a person that all my life, I've been in the outdoors since I was 5 years old. My dad was an outdoorsman. He introduced me to camping and fishing and the great outdoors, and I've just fallen in love with it since I was a kid. And I continued to do those activities all throughout my life. After work, when I'd have a weekend to go and do things, that's when I'd head out camping, fishing, canoeing, hiking, and all the things in the great outdoors. And throughout all those years, there was never an incident. There was never anything that made me question anything. Uneventful. Always had a great time, always enjoyed myself, being out in nature, rejuvenating my soul, feeling like I really got rid of a lot of stress after a long week at work. And then I'd come back on a Sunday and really feel like I had a mini vacation before it was time to go back to work the following week. And I did that for decades. Prior to camping, I always camped in tents. Every type of tent ever made. Mountain tents, pup tents, dome tents, you name it. That's all I did was tent camping. And there again, I did it in remote areas. And in those days, I never even had so much as a problem with a bear. And yet there was a lot of bear around, and I always camped in bear country. Always have. But last year, in October, I had something happen when I was camping in my van and I was alone. And this is not the night when my van was attacked and there's scratches all over it and something clawed the living hell out of it. I never saw what did that. It woke me out of a deep sleep and I took off in a frantic. Got the hell out of there. It was probably a bear trying to get into my van. But it was after that incident that I went to a different location that's even more remote than that location was. I was deeper in the forest, all alone, nobody around, not a soul. Had the whole entire area to myself. And so long as I live, I will never forget that night. I will never forget it. And it still bothers me when I think about it. Because what happened that night goes against everything I understood about our reality in this world. The woods, the outdoors, all the experiences that I've had prior to it. It really made me realize just how vulnerable I was all those years I camped in a tent, and even small campers. I put a lot of work and a lot of thought into turning my Toyota van into an RV. You guys have seen the videos, the bed riser I built, how I did it, the dinette that I made. Everything to make that van the way it is today was a lot of work, and I did that because I love camping in my van. It's very comfortable and I felt very safe. However, last October, on that balmy warm night while remote camping in my van, I realized I am no safer in that van than in a tent because of what I experienced. I realized at that moment that if it wanted to take me from the van, it could have done it with great ease. It could have got me out of that van. That's what scared the hell out of me the most, because it was that damn big. And this is not a joke. I'm not making this up. It took me a long time to make this video, but it's why I have not camped this year, outside of the one night that my girlfriend and I went to a campground. But those remote places I will never camp at again, so long as I live. And I'm not a person that believes in cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever, all that stuff. I'm not a believer in that kind of thing. But that night, what came into my campsite was terrifying, and I realized I'm wrong. I'm dead wrong. What I thought I knew about the woods and native animals and what's supposed to be out there in the woods, that's all there is, I realized is not the case. It's not the case. And it disturbed me to my core after I experienced that incident, because I never, ever, ever in my lifetime did I ever think something like that would even be remotely possible. And yet it happened. And I'm going to tell you something right now to all of you who camp and are listening. I would never, ever stay in a tent again. And I would never, ever stay at those remote locations in a vehicle. Not even in a vehicle. There is nothing that I know of that I could stay in if I were to go back and camp at that spot again that would make me feel safe, outside of maybe a tank, a military tank. And I am not kidding you. I am not joking. I will never forget what happened. I still cannot believe it even happened. I don't know what to think of it even to this day. But I know I'm not ever going back. And if I camp now, it's going to be where there's other people and lots of them. And if you're somebody that camps alone in remote areas, because I never ever had a gun with me. I don't own guns. I'm not comfortable with guns. I'm not against guns. I just don't like having them myself. That's just my choice. But after that night, if you go camping in remote areas alone, take a high caliber gun with you. A very high caliber gun. I wish that I could tell you what happened. It's far too difficult to explain, to paint the picture of what happened. And even if I could, you would never believe it. You would just never believe it. But all I'm going to say is, it wasn't big. The thing was absolutely huge. Huge. Terrifyingly huge. And that did it. Now I'll just like sleep in my van out here in the driveway. I spend time out around the fire pit. I just recently laid a patio out around the fire pit because that was one of the reasons, one of the main reasons I'd go camping, is because I wanted to sit around a nice relaxing campfire. Now I do it in my backyard. I will still camp, but I no longer seek out those remote, out of the way, far areas where I'm deep, deep in the forest all alone. I will not do that again. I don't think I'd do that if you paid me. And if I did have enough nerve to do it, I'd want a semi-automatic machine gun with me. I am not bullshitting you. And I'm not even one that's into guns. I don't even know anything about guns, but that's what I'd want. It angers me that it really wrecked how I felt about the outdoors. The love that I have for the outdoors. And just everything I thought about the great outdoors. Now I know that there's a lot more to it than what my small mind thought. And I just don't know what to think about it. And it's bothered me all year since it happened. Still does. And what I'd like to tell people watching this video is, if you've got a different way to camp than in a tent, do so. Don't stay in a tent. Whatever you do, don't stay in a tent. I mean that with all sincerity. I wouldn't go back there and stay in my van with all the doors locked, which I had locked. But I realized if it wanted to get me out of my van, if it knew I was in there, it could have easily done it. So I no longer look at the woods the same. I no longer think about camping the same. And that's why I haven't camped this year. I'm not giving up camping. I'm just being damn careful on where I camp now. And I'm going to make sure there's people around. Thanks for watching, you guys, and we'll see you again in the next one. Bye-bye.